Hey everybody, welcome back to Fantasy Theory. So we got some news today regarding The Last of Us Season 2, revealing the episode count, and a few other things that I don't know if I'm going to actually go over because this article comes from Deadline, and it's an extremely long article. I mean, the screenshots I have in this is like 25 different screenshots of different paragraphs, so I don't know if I'm going to actually go through all of this, but we're going to get through a good amount of it and kind of give my thoughts about it. I don't have too many thoughts about it, being that I'm not a big fan of the games. I never played them. I was a Xbox kid growing up instead of a PlayStation kid. But The Last of Us is pretty new to me with this whole Last of Us world. I do know what happens to Joel in the second game, and I'm hoping that doesn't happen in the show. I hope they don't actually follow that because I know a ton of people hate that. But let's get into this. Before we start, leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe. Let's get right into the video. The Last of Us Season 2 episode count revealed as Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann explain decisions and tease additional seasons. Exclusive. It's a case of good news, bad news for The Last of Us fans who have been patiently waiting more than a year for new episodes of HBO's award-winning drama adaptation based on the acclaimed video game. When Season 2 finally arrives in 2025, it will be shorter than Season 1, consisting of 7 episodes, but the good news is that a potential third season will be significantly larger and possibly bigger in scope, and there could very well be a Season 4 coming behind it, according to a series co-creators, executive producers, showrunners, and directors Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann. Plus, one of the Season 2 episodes will be quite big in length. Just to talk about that really briefly, Season 1 had, I believe, 9 episodes, so Season 2 having 7 episodes, 2 less episodes, I don't really find concerning. As long as they can tell the story in that long, it's fine to me. I don't find it that concerning. But yeah, let's continue on. The size of the Season 2 order was hinted at in January when Deadline revealed the lineup of the season's 7 directors, including Mazin and Druckmann. The duo arrived at the number of episodes after careful consideration. The story material that we got from part 2 of the game is way more than the story material that was in the first game. So part of what we had to do from the start was figure out how to tell the stories across seasons, Mazin said. When you do that, you look for natural breakups, and as we laid it out, the natural breakpoint felt like it came after 7 episodes. So already, that's the right answer. I mean, I don't think there's any better answer they could have given for making the season shorter. No reason to drag something out because that's how you lose viewers. That's how you lose the audience, by dragging things out. Let's get to the action. Let's get to everything important. That means that Mazin and Druckmann envision the series running for at least 3 seasons and possibly 4. So far, The Last of Us has been picked up through Season 2 by HBO, so further seasons will depend on viewership, something the duo is cognizant of. We don't think that we're going to be able to tell the story even within 2 seasons, 2 and 3, because we're taking our time and go down interesting pathways, which we did a little bit in Season 1 too, Mazin said. We feel like it's almost assuredly going to be the case that as long as people keep watching and we keep making more television, Season 3 will be significantly larger, and indeed, the story may require Season 4. So it's interesting what they're saying. So they're only signed on for Season 2, but there's the potential Season 3 and potential Season 4. They're aiming to do a Season 3, but could possibly drag it out to Season 4, which makes me a little worried. I don't know if I want to see, I'm not to say I don't want to see 4 seasons of the show. I love Season 1. I love Pedro Pascal. I love Bella Ramsey. I love the duo. I think they're really great. I love the show so far. But to me, it sounds like they only need 3 seasons, and the 4th would just be like a little extra. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it. I think it depends, like they said, how Season 2 does, because I believe The Last of Us only has 2 games. Later in the interview, Mazin sounded even more definitive. One thing is absolutely for sure. I don't see how we could tell the story that remains after Season 2 is complete in 1 more season. Oh, well, I guess that answers what I just said. This is the first time I'm reading this article. I wanted to read this live with you guys and kind of give my initial thoughts, but there we go. That answers that. In the interview conducted earlier this year, Mazin and Druckmann looked to dispel any fan concerns that they plan to tell the entire story from part 2 of the game over Seasons 2, 7 episodes. We just want to put people's minds at ease that the idea that this season coming up is a little bit shorter than the first one is not because we're taking less time to tell the stories, it's because we want to take more time, Mazin said. The story that we're telling is much bigger than the story of Season 1. There's just a lot more going on. It's a lot harder to produce, but we want every episode to feel like its own blockbuster, to be honest with you. Perfect answer to that. Perfect. perfect answer to that. A little later on, Mazin and Druckmann are keeping the themes of PlayStation's game's two existing parts, which have been described as Unconditional Love Part 1 and Revenge Part 2. More specifically, it's a continuation of love from the first season, and this is just the dark side of that coin, the pursuit of justice at any cost for the ones you love and the exploration of that, Druckmann said of Season 2. One thing Mazin and Druckmann will not do is get beyond the existing source material the way fellow HBO genre drama Game of Thrones carried on after covering the published 5 novels in George R.R. Martin's series. Martin is yet to finish planned 6th and 7th books. There had been speculation about a third The Last of Us game, though a new installment has not been picked up or put into development. So that's interesting. I came into this article thinking that they would maybe go beyond that story and do their own story, but it seems like they're just going to adapt everything at a more of a grander scale from just the first 2 games and not go beyond that, judging by what the article says, that they're taking notes from Game of Thrones' last 2 seasons that went beyond the books and did their own thing that was not well received by fans. At least at the time they weren't well received, but I still think at this time they're still not well received. You know, some new people, you know, someone who didn't watch Game of Thrones like me when it was coming out but watched it after and binged it, I wasn't too mad about the ending, but I do understand where people are coming from with not liking that ending. I mean, I see everything they say, and you know what, a little bit of me doesn't like it either, I'm not gonna lie, but let's continue on. As a fan, I'm thrilled that there might be a third Last of Us game. As the co-creator of the television show, there's no world where I want our show to go beyond the source material that people have in the world, Mazin said. Our show, as people know it on HBO, was going to cover the material from the second game and then quite a bit of material that is relevant to that story, but as I said, wanders down interesting new paths, unseen stories, and were told within the context of the game material. Druckmann, who is head of Naughty Dog, the studio behind the Last of Us game, would not address the prospects for a potential Part 3, something he hasn't discussed with Mazin either. As part of that, Season 2 of the series will be revisiting events from Season 1. The 2 stories are so interconnected that inevitably we're going to be touching on things from the first season or the first game because it's a continuation of those characters. Sadly, 2 of Season 1's most beloved characters, Bill and Frank, will not be featured on the show again, Mazin confirmed to Deadline in January. Damn. We do tricks sometimes. We do some interesting things. The Bill and Frank story from Season 1 was inspired by the characters in the game, but it was a very different approach. There will be things that we do that are different, as in before, but we were very much focused on telling story of the second game, which, as Neil says, is inextricably linked and intertwined with the events of Season 1. And a little more into the article, I don't see a world where we go through and we go, that's shorter than we thought, Mazin said. We are committed to delivering people great seasons and arcs, and HBO was amazing about this. They let us pick that natural spot instead of us having to figure out how to create seasons around an artificial number. We create the length of the seasons around the story and how we are telling it. Druckmann picked up on that, stressing how structure is incredibly important to us, which is what they focused on when they got to do this 7-episode Season 2. Our process was we sketched out multiple seasons, then we did a deep dive into Season 2, he said. To echo what Craig is saying, there's no padding. Everything that is in there is intentional. There is always a goal in mind that we're heading towards. We are never meandering the sake of meandering. It's always to say something greater for these characters and the themes. Once again, The Last of Us, co-produced by Sony Pictures TV, will be beholden to the rigid standards for uniform traditional length episodes. Season 1 originally plotted for a 10-episode run, ran for 9 episodes with a supersized 90-minute opening installment, and the praised Bill and Frank episode 3 clocked in at an hour and 12 minutes. So overall, Season 1 really was a 10-episode length season in hours, Mazin said. And certainly in Season 2, there's an episode that's going to be again closer to, I don't know if I should say feature length, but quite big, he added. I like generally hitting about an hour. It's a great length. I love working in that format. What we don't want to do is say a season of 7 episodes where each episode is 90 minutes. Part of why we're doing 7 episodes is finding that nice line. Well, that's all I'm going to go through in the article right now because there's a ton more of that. And if you want to check it out yourself, go to Deadline, go search for the article because it's long. There's a lot of things I left out. There's a whole closing thing that they went on about the show and everything, but that is some great news. So pretty much we got 7 episodes, a potential Season 3 that they're kind of aiming for, and then a potential Season 4 because they believe it could go beyond Season 3 with just telling the story from parts 1 and part 2 of the video games. So the story will stay completely within the video game confines. They won't go beyond the story of what the video game told, but they seems like they'll be doing like side quests and certain little elements and extra things that will go within that and kind of enhance the experience, which is perfectly fine to me. And I love the answers they gave that, we don't really go for hitting a certain amount of episodes, a certain amount of different things. We want to kind of tell a story the way we want to tell a story and, basically not lose the viewer in what they're doing, not trying to drag out a potential only 7 episode season to 10 episodes or 9 episodes. Think about that. Dragging out 7 episodes that they want to shoot for at least an hour long, with one being an extension of 90 minutes. So the rest being an hour long. They want to shoot for another 2 to 3 episodes that are another hour long. That's 3 more hours of content. That's a whole movie. So I love their answers to that. I love what they're doing. I'm super excited for season 2. The only thing I'm upset about is it seems like they're really following the games, which could be really bad for certain characters that I don't want to get into. But yeah. Leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe. Let me know if you're excited for Season 2 of The Last of Us and the potential Season 3, Season 4. Who knows? Maybe even Season 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nah, I'm just kidding. Thanks so much for watching. Have an incredible day.